Y'all looking serious.
Yes. We got this head up. This is how I feel about it.
Yeah. I got over here with so there's all right there.
I have a question.
So she did better than Jason Reed in the governor's office?
Yes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our committee meeting, General Fund this morning. I appreciate everybody's attendance, everybody's attention. Call the roll, please.
Senator Albritton,
Here.
Senator Chambliss, Senator Beasley, Senator Coleman Madison. Here. Senator Elliott.
Here.
Senator Gavan, Senator Jones, Senator Kelly, Senator Livingston, Senator Orr, Senator Price, Senator Shonut, Senator Stewart, Senator Stutz, Senator Weaver.
How many got? 8. We got a quorum. Able to conduct a business. We're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to change up things as I guess is fairly typical. Senator Melson has a bill and he's got another conflict, so I'm going to invite Senator Melson up with SB 170. We'll call that one up first. And Senator Melson, welcome and tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill just has to do with an agent of the state transporting accused individual. Currently, they're at the rate of 10 cents a mile and $8 a day. And this bill simply just gets them up to the going rate of the state, or the IRS, I think is like 65 cents a mile instead of 10 cents a mile. And whatever I think the going rate per day now.
I think it's IRS 62.5 cents, I think is what it is, unless they've increased that again. And going from 10 cents to 62 cents is a significant increase. It sounds like cents.
Well, they don't want back pay.
I'm sorry that you even brought that topic up. But since you did, let's address this for a little bit, if you don't mind. We have several bills here, and this is because of the events that we've had in the first half of this session. There's a lot of money being spent, a lot of money coming out of this, and you'll see in today's events that there's a great deal of grab, if I might say it that way. I'm going to ask this body, by that I mean our members, to understand. I don't mean this to be, I'll just say it and we'll take it from there. It's our job to be able to set the policy of what the financial state of Alabama is. We've got to be cautious. I think it's pretty clear in where we're going that we're not going to have revenue coming in an increase. We believe we may be close to our apex in that regard. So we've got to start looking at the other side, which is the spending and how we're spending and where we're spending and how much we're spending. Yes, ma'am. Having said that, on your bill, Senator Melson, I'd like to talk to the folks about this before we move forward with it. I'd like to get a better handle on and such. And I'm not suggesting that we don't need to make an increase or something, but I have 2 or 3 different concerns about that. And I'd like the folks involved with this to come talk to us if that would be before I move forward with this. Would that be acceptable to you?
Yes, sir, I understand.
With that, would you have an objection to just carrying this over to another time frame?
I'm good.
All in favor of carrying over this bill, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience with us. We'll get to dealing with this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We're going to have 2 public hearings. I better say this at the end. So I want to be able to run through the list that we've got as much as we possibly can. I welcome any discussions or not trying to keep anybody down from discussing matters. I invite that discussion here this evening or this morning, whatever time we are. Let's call the next bill SB 27, Senator Chastain. Senator Chastain is not here. This has to deal with elections. Is Representative Clark here? Ah, there you are. Representative Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was told that's how it would work. Good morning.
Now, first off, let me clarify, Representative Clark. SB 27 is the Senate version of HB 101, which is the elections. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
All right. So as you're talking about HB 101, that we're talking about the same thing as SB 27, basically, correct?
Basically. However, HB 101 was amended in committee in the House.
Please explain. Go ahead.
So good morning, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm here to request a favorable report for HB 101. If approved, it would increase the list of eligible reimbursable expenses for counties by the Election Expense Reimbursement Committee. In this age of technology, there's a need for software upgrades for both our electronic poll books and also our electronic voting machines. So those are among the additional expenses that this bill proposes counties be able to get reimbursed for. In committee, I think the comptrollers asked that the counties be required to submit their request for reimbursements within 90 days. And that amendment was accepted in the House Ways and Means General Fund Committee. I think that amendment was brought by Representative Lee.
So Sam, that's the amendment and the difference between 27 and 101, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So that is simply giving a drop dead date of time frame so that you can't, if you're going to make the request, get it in timely. Is that accurate?
Within 90 days or else.
And the fiscal note on this, if you'll take a look, I'm showing over 2.2 million per election cycle. Is that all? Is that accurate from? I think I'm reading from this.
Based on the information and projection that I was given by LSA, yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions on HB 101 by anyone?
No, move for approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? I would ask, and I'll talk to Senator Chastain about this too, but I would ask that we take a look and have commissions come and let's talk about this a little more detail if we don't mind. All right? Before we get it to the floor. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's take a roll call vote.
Senator Albritton?
Aye.
Senator Chambliss? Senator Beasley? Senator Coleman? Senator Coleman Madison?
Aye.
Senator Elliott?
Aye.
Senator Gavan? Senator Jones? Senator Kelly? Senator Livingston? Senator Orr? Senator Price? Senator Shonut? Senator Stewart? Senator Stutz? Senator Weaver?
Okay, we've got a favorable report. Thank you. Let's
Thank you,
move.
Mr. Chairman and
Thank you.
members.
Appreciate you, Representative Clark. We're going to pass 101. Senator Chastain is not here. Let's carry over SB 27. That's probably the proper way. All right. All in favor of carrying over SB 27, say aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Let's move down to SB 149. Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is a bill just to increase the minimum amount for the feeding of prisoners in the county jails across the state, going from $2.25 to $3. I heard you on your earlier soliloquy about spending and those kind of issues, but it is an issue we need to address. I would remark with this that my understanding and looking even at our 23 numbers, we're spending currently under the 225 amount about $10.5 million a year. We're appropriating almost $12 million. Maybe we could work with the chairman and stair step it up over time if the chairman were interested in pursuing that. But I would, again, with all humility and deference, I think it's something we need to address, but you've got to balance the budget. So,
I don't have a problem with moving this forward as we have it unless we have some other issues coming up. But I would point out that the 225 was an amount that was negotiated quite heavily, if I recall, not too long ago as to whether that was going to be it or not be it. Is Mr. Brassfield around? Oh, there. When did we last have this discussion, Mr. Brassfield? Do you remember? Back home when food was cheaper. That was yesterday.
It was before inflation.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this bill would have been, the original bill would have been passed in either 18 or 19.
18 or 19.
18, 19?
Yeah.
Okay. Time flies when you're having fun.
I'm getting a little old for you to ask me that on the spot, by the way.
Thank you. All right.
I'll move it.
Oh, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any objection to previous roll? All right. Previous roll accepted.
Mr. Chairman, just going to ask just one quick question for
Certainly.
clarification. The amount that you mentioned, the 10 million, is this just for prisoners that are housed in the county facilities or all of the,
County.
just the county?
Just county.
Do we know what we pay?
State prisoners in county.
Yes, state prisons and county facilities. Do we have a figure of what our cost is per day, per,
For Department of Corrections?
yeah?
I defer to the chairman on that. He knows corrections well these days.
I'm just trying to get a comparison of what we pay as the,
That's a good question. I don't know that. Let's see if we can get some numbers on
I'll take that on, Mr. Chairman.
I don't know who eats on.
I'll ask Ms. Stallworth over your shoulder.
Oh, is that okay?
She can
Okay.
find that
There we
number
go.
for us on the per diem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll find that out, but now we have this as already given favorable report. We'll move on from there. And I would invite further discussions on this with y'all on any way you want to go. If we want to do a step or make an adjustment or something along that line, we'll discuss that. All right. SB 150, Senator Gudger. Someone else is carrying that? Is that a similar house?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm carrying the House version of that.
What's their house number? We don't have that one on for today, do we?
We don't. We've got that
Okay.
on the floor tomorrow. HB 220 is the House version of it. And thank you for your time. And
Can you tell us about 150?
I can, absolutely.
Please.
So let me start by saying this does not levy any tax at all. So let's be real clear on that. What it does is it changes how we collect that tax. It doesn't change when a tax is due, but it does change how we collect it. So
How does that change occur?
what we're trying to do is now online platforms, your Airbnbs and stuff that collect lodging tax. There's a lot of confusion because the tax becomes due at the time that the rental is made. Sometimes some property owners collect that. Often they don't, and so a lot of owners don't know that they're liable.
So this is simply a means of getting a concise manner, more efficient
Correct.
collection.
We're asking that the platforms collected at the time. It's a simplified seller's use tax for Airbnbs is the way I describe it.
Senator Weaver, did you have something here?
So I believe, Representative Ellis, am I correct that this bill has a sub that you're going to
Correct.
introduce?
Correct.
This? Do you have a copy of those subs? Okay.
And the sub, I've kind of described the sub. What the sub does is we wanted to make sure that we did not disrupt any Alabama businesses that were already collecting the tax and doing what they're supposed to do. So it exempts some property managers, hotels that are already collecting it, the RV parks, and there's been a lot of negotiations and discussions, more discussions and negotiations to get to this point. But everybody's in a kumbaya moment with this substitute.
Well, we'll see. But we have a substitute that's offered.
Correct.
By Senator Weaver. This substitute, the difference is that it has an exemption for those that are currently making payments in their methodology. Is that accurate?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Senator, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. If that's all that it does, because when I get a full substitute, I feel like there are some major changes that are made. If that's all it does, how come we just could not have done that by amendment?
We'll have to ask smarter people than me on why we substituted it versus amended. And then the Department of Revenue is here. It's the Department of Revenue bill, and they can certainly speak to that probably.
Mr. Chairman, can we ask them what, because I had just got that one read and good and read.
Here's the smart people.
And then here we come with a whole new one.
Hi, Cameron Clark with Department of Revenue. We just did a sub just out of simplicity. We felt it may be cleaner coming out. In essence, I can actually walk you through the specific changes if you'd like. So on page 4, line 86, we just explicitly ensure that the local levies will also be collected. We added the terminology of local levy, parallel local levies. So there was some confusion on whether this should apply to the state portion. Then on page 5, lines 113 through 127, this is that exemption we were talking about for the good actors, the ones that in-state businesses are already collecting and reporting. And you'll notice that we list them and we say that those that are collecting and reporting the tax. But in essence, what this is doing is just asking or requiring the platforms to collect the tax at the point of sale. So that way there's a level playing field across the state. And right now there's been estimates of upward of potentially 26 million being left on the table if taxes not collected. And 75% of that, of the 4% local of lodgings rate actually goes to the general fund.
I hear a motion to approve the substitute. We have a motion, have a second, Senator Weaver. Any objection to using previous roll? Oh,
Add me.
add you in what way?
Positive.
Just checking, just checking. Okay.
I don't always vote no.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Beasley?
I'd like to ask the question, what are we doing as Department of Revenue to collect the taxes without having to hire someone else to do it?
Ms. Cameron?
Sure, yes, sir. Well, we don't really hire the Airbnbs to do it, but in essence, the levy right now does not require these booking platforms to collect the tax. And so there's where that loophole is. And most states have this on the books. Right now, if they're not collecting, the only way we really know is if we go through an audit aspect, and we don't want to have to do that. And I think that's why we're bringing this forward. Most states have this already on the books. If the booking platform just will collect the tax, then there's no audit aspect, and you have compliance at the beginning instead of having to do it in the back end.
The folks in the lodging business collect the tax from the
Yes.
consumer. They should be required to submit it.
Yes, that's right. So most Alabama businesses do that. Yes, sir. They do collect the tax when they do that transaction from the consumer, and they turn around and remit it to the department. But there's some entities that are out of state, bigger platforms, VRBOs, Airbnbs, Expedias. Some of those do collect, but some do not. And so what we're trying to get them to do is collect it at that point so that that requirement doesn't then flow down and become a burden on Alabama businesses to do it.
What time frame are you going to require them to submit?
To submit the tax, well, this, I believe, is effective September 1. So it would begin, let me double check that exactly. I'm sorry, transactions beginning on January 1 of 25. So we hope to have this up and operational, that requirement out there beginning in January.
Are you going to have to contract with a different computer company to do all this?
No, sir, not at all. We won't have to. It's just they're going to do our normal forms that they're already used to. There's like, these people would in essence just start remitting tax to us under their lodgings tax account, everything we already have in place. There's no new administrative issue for the department with this.
How much money do you think's being laid on the table?
There's been estimates of up to 26 million just at the state level. That doesn't even include the local level. And 26 million, right now the lodgings tax is 4% in some areas of the state and 5% in others. And that 4%, 75% goes to the general fund. So upwards of 26 million is a high estimate, but that's one of the estimates we have received before, that's what's being left on the table just because of this compliance loophole.
You know, according to what the chairman just said about revenue shrinkage, it seems like that needs to be a high priority for the department to start collecting it now.
Yes, sir. And that's why we're trying to get this on the books so it can be done now. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We've had a motion, a second, and a vote with the previous roll on the substitute. We're now on the substitute. Do we have a motion for a favorable report? We have a motion for that, and we have a second. Any objections to previous roll? No objections. We'll accept the previous roll. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Now we're down to SB 195, Senator Allen. Oh, I skipped that one, didn't I? Okay, I got to come back to that.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I know we just delivered a substitute to your clerk there, and let me just make a brief statement about that. And what that does is that it states the state docs and the Department of Commerce and will be the focus point because of what has taken place with the lock in Demopolis. And as it's been told, We're not real certain exactly when that lock will be repaired. It may be late summer, early fall, maybe. But as far as an emergency funds needed to address some issues that may be coming. And so the lock is located on the Black Warrior Dash Tennessee Tom Bigby.
And I think your bill is appropriating $10 million from the general fund for repairs?
This is for the supplemental, yes, sir. And for the, as far as repairs, the Corps of Engineers are involved in repairing the lock itself, but the 10 million is for some issues that may be coming because of the flow of the barges downstream.
Senator Orr, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understood all that. Number one, when did the lock become out of repair?
It's been probably 6 weeks, 8 weeks now.
Okay.
And,
who owns the lock? Is that the Corps?
The Corps, yeah, the feds.
Okay. Well, so that's where I heard you say something to the effect of the Corps is going to take care of the locks, but this is something else for something else for something else. So
well, it's as far as the state docks and for the Department of Commerce, because we have many employees that may be in need of support.
Wait. So we're now on the docks from the broken lock. So how is that? I'm not following you.
The production of coal,
okay,
in my Senate district, and the shipping of the coal downstream on the Black Water.
But how?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to move to carry over at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, until I get more information.
All right, I
Just withhold my motion until that time.
All right, thank you for that. Any other questions?
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cole.
And look, and I really need to get out of here today, but the substitute that we just got, like I understood.
Well, we're not on the substitute
Can
at
I
this
ask him a
point.
question
Certainly,
about it?
certainly. I just want to make sure that people understand that we're not dealing with a substitute at this point, but go ahead and ask. Go ahead.
Okay, so it is proper edit order?
Of course, I just didn't want to get confused.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really short. You can read, both of them really quick. I definitely understood what you were trying to do with the original bill. Had questions, of course, about heretofore and hereafter made, but the substitute, I don't understand. There is a portion that starts on, well, it starts on line 20, but on 25 where it talks about the state port, 24 to 25 state port authority and the Department of Commerce to mitigate negative economic impacts resulting from reduced commercial and recreational traffic on the Black Warrior Tom Bigby waterway system. What does that mean?
It means more boaters need to get around down there. Recreational.
Recreation is down, so revenues are down.
Yeah.
We're trying to make up for it. Industry doesn't have that.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I was at, the committee took it over.
Well, and also it's a shipment of products downriver, downstream to the state docks. Yes.
Senator Elliott.
Okay, Senator Allen, I'm trying to understand here too. I'm a little confused. Obviously, very supportive of the port and very supportive of the barge traffic on both the Tom Bigby and Blackwater River that ends up at the port. How do you envision this $10 million mitigating the negative economic impacts resulting from reduced commercial and recreational traffic? What you going to do with the money? How are you going to mitigate these negative impacts?
Well, for instance, in Demopolis, there is a movement of trying to do a makeshift dock in Demopolis, where truckers will truck coal from the mines in Walker and Tuscaloosa, wherever it may be, on to Demopolis. And so that's one thing. So expense of trying to make sure that we can keep employees working and taking care of families that's maybe
Senator, if I might,
Yes, sir.
if I might, I think I get the feeling of the committee here.
Yes, sir.
I think it may be timely that I entertain Senator Orr's motion, and we have a second. All in favor of carrying over, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'll get with you on this, Senator, and we'll discuss and get a better feel for this and work through before we do any damage here. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I got so excited, I'll skip my own bill. Let's go back up to SB 154. SB 154, ladies and gentlemen, is an attempt and to outline the difficulty or the problem that we have is we have several places where sheriffs come in, they're elected, and they are getting elected because they're good people, but they are vacating another police officer job, usually a deputy, and when they take over the sheriff's position, they find out that their pay is reduced significantly. What this bill is intending to do is try to repair that in a way so that it gives particular counties the ability to change that pay. All right. Now there's some work going on this, and we may be doing some things on the floor with this as we go through. But what I have is an amendment to include the counties basically from 200,000 population up to be able to have this authority to do so. And at this point, I would entertain a motion. In fact, I move the amendment. We have a motion and a second. Any objection to previous roll? All right, the amendment's accepted. Now we'll be on the bill. Is there any questions on the efforts of move it? We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor of the previous roll, say aye. Aye. All right, we have a favorable report. Thank you. We'll have to continue this work on the House, but I look forward to getting this resolved. We'll now call SB 199. That's another one of mine. This bill is an emergency medical transport providers tax, if you term it that way. This bill is already in existence. It has a deadline date, which ends this year. What this bill does is a renewal and just extends the date out for another year. Now, what this does is allows the emergency managements to have a tax on themselves to be able to draw down Medicaid monies. It's worked well this past year. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor of previous roll? All. Favorable report. Thank you. SB 214, Senator Hovey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, I am here to present Senate Bill 214, which, if you'll notice on your calendar, is actually a companion bill for House Bill 54 listed just below it. And quite simply, in keeping in line with our emergency medical theme for the last few bills, extends an existing law that covers paid professional firefighters. The bill would provide compensation to the survivors of volunteer firefighters who die of work-related cancer diagnosis while in the line of duty, and really just mirrors what's already existing for paid professional firefighters.
So it extends benefits from paid full-timers to volunteers. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. And HB 54's Representative Bledsoe here?
He is not. I'm here to...
Okay. To stand in for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any questions on SB 214 or HB 254?
How do we determine if it's a work-related cancer? How is that determination made?
In regard to whether it's work-related to their full-time job or their volunteer job?
Just
That is listed in
Right. Okay.
on the last page there. That is addressed.
How's that addressed?
Okay. I see it, Mr.
You see it? Okay, all right.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Senator Coleman Madison.
How are they currently paid right now as far as volunteer fire departments? We know that if you're with a county or a city, you know, it's in their budget. So how is this, where does this come from?
Well, first off, the volunteers are not paid, and these benefits are not provided to them. What this now says is that what this is attempting to do is, if I'm correct, is extending that should a firefighter, volunteer firefighter, contract a Carthaginian or some way, that they would fall under and receive that benefit. Now, I don't believe there's any way in which this is paid for. Is that correct? The volunteer fire departments have no insurance plan or anything put in here.
And that's
Is that
why
correct?
before you, it would come from the state.
Okay, so we come to the state. What scale are we using as far as, I mean, I see we have a fiscal note of $148,000 or $550 for each state death.
So how many deaths are there? We don't know at this point.
Are we taking out an insurance policy on each one of them, kind of like, I'm trying to,
We are not.
just a cash?
This is simply a matter that, and as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, that the state, if we pass this, the state would be taking on that obligation that should there be a proof of a death from this, according to the bill, then that would come directly from the general fund.
I think it's a great idea. I'm just wondering, do we have the money based on the amount that we have? You know, I mean, it would be awful to commit to something that we cannot. If that happens, my brother-in-law was a firefighter and he had some of these issues, but he was with the city, so that was a little bit different. But it would be awful if we committed to this amount, if this is the amount, and then we cannot fulfill that obligation. Parents and families left behind would be dependent upon that. So I'm just wondering about the amount. I think it's a great idea because I have a number of volunteer fire departments in my area.
Sure, and that's fair. And I don't have the figures on, you know, right now we're not paying for that, so we don't have that number captive. But I can get the information on what's currently being paid out for professional firefighters.
Yeah, see, that's why I was wondering about what's that, you know, what are we using? Is it county or is this something that we use this as a measuring stick to say this is what the state pay out for something, or where did this 148,550 for each death come from? Where did that number come from?
That's already prescribed, and you'll notice on page 2, the State Board of Adjustments already has provisions that define what that award is for current paid professional firefighters. So this is just adding volunteer firefighters to the existing program. So that's already been determined.
Is that the baseline for across the state for in whatever city, county, or whatever?
Yes, ma'am. Not for I mean,
I know, but for
existing
professional
right.
firefighters.
Right.
If I might, is there any criteria in this bill so that the state becomes a secondary payee? For instance, if they have other insurance or if there's other qualifiers or anything of that nature?
That is not addressed in this bill.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, and Senator Hovey, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Certainly.
It seems like we would do ourselves a justice and the families by looking at offering some kind of insurance for them. I mean, we don't know what this is going to be, but at least you'd have some guarantee that that amount would be there, whatever it is, and it would be paid because the state already has a number of things that we have said committed to people that we are going to pay, and we don't pay.
Senator, would you entertain the idea of discussing this further with some members about how to
Sure.
bring this into an acceptable methodology?
Not a problem at all.
And I support the concept. I think it's great. I just want to make sure that we are not promising something down the line. Catastrophic event happens again, because more than likely this is as a result of these things that you're talking about. My brother-in-law has sarcoidosis, so I do understand all of this. But then you come and say, well, we don't have the money to pay. That's awful. So I don't want any family to be caught in that.
Let's have a motion to carry this over for further discussion. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Senator, thank you. We'll work on continuing through with that. And I think on the same thing on HB 54, move to carry that over. All in favor, say aye. All right, thank you. Let's see. Representative Klaus, HB 71. How are you, sir?
Doing great.
Haven't seen you in a while.
I know, it's been a while. Glad to be back before this distinguished committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. House Bill 71 is a bill I've been working on for about 6 months with Ms. Nia Scott from RSA, and so the retirement system has signed off on this. It deals with emergency technician personnel, obviously personnel that drive our rescue squads. As you know, in many of our districts, or all of our districts, all the cities and counties that are having a hard time hiring emergency medical personnel due to the demands and the dangers of the job. And this would just simply put them in hazardous duty pay, like law enforcement personnel and firefighters that are in the retirement systems, where they would get an extra year credit toward retirement after 5 years of service.
Do you know the fiscal note on that one?
Well, there's not any to the state. It would be to the counties and the cities where these personnel are hired.
To the cities and counties, not to the state, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Any other questions? Senator Orr.
Any idea with this? I'm trying to think, Representative, are there employees the state would potentially lose because if this bill were to pass and the locals are now offering this option, is it going to cost us? I mean, where we can't compete like has happened in years past, where we.
Well, I'm not sure.
Mr. Brassfield and his minions have, hurt us so badly that now the state can't keep up with the locals. So
I'm not sure there are any.
I'm trying to think.
Right.
Can't see that.
I think so.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Chairman?
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Elliott.
I move favorable report.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any objection to using previous role? No objection? All right, we have a favorable report. Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
HB 138. Chairman Reynolds asked me to carry this in a little bit. This is a supplemental appropriation. This is an easy fix. This is dealing with money, federal money that's already out there. We already have a methodology. The money's sitting in the bank ready. We need to get the governor's signature on that. That's basically it. I think it's $93 million. Any questions on this? We have a motion. Second? We have a second. Any objections to previous roll? No objections. We'll have a favorable report. Thank you. Representative Sales on HB 171. I've spoken with Representative Sales. He is off on a, for lack of a better term, dog and pony this afternoon. So we have, we're going to carry this bill over if there's no objections to that. If we've got some work to do, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Bill's carried over. We now have a public hearing. Senator Givan on SB 21, property tax. You wanted to give us a brief aspect of what that is, Senator Givan, then we'll move directly into the public hearing.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we've got people that have motorhomes that have had ridiculously high increases in their property taxes on that. I think some of these people are paying more on their motorhomes than I'm paying on my house. But in any event, because this has got to come from the House anyway, and we've got a pretty important public hearing, I think, on SB 110, I would move to carry this over.
We have a motion and a second. Before that, I have one person that's signed up that's been eager to speak on this. Mr. Brasfield, was that you? Pass? All right. All in favor of carryover, say aye. Aye. All right, bill's carried over. Let's go to the next one, SB 110. Senator Sessions. This is relating to the ad valorem taxation to limit the assessed value of certain real property or ad valorem tax purposes with exceptions. Now, Senator, we're not going to have a vote on this, but I would like to go ahead and conduct the public hearing that we've got and hear what the people have to say. If that's all right, we'll move directly into the public hearing part. Dylan Turk with Alpha would be first. Oh, there he is. Okay. Senator Sessions, I didn't see you coming up. You all right with having a public hearing? All right.
Good morning, committee members. I'm Dylan Turk, a farmer and property owner from Mobile County. The Alabama Farmers Federation has long championed reasonable and affordable property taxes for farmers and homeowners. Alabama's property tax system, however, doesn't just benefit farmers. It makes our state attractive to businesses and families. The recent migration of people and companies from states with burdensome property taxes and crippling regulations is proof that Alabama is doing something right. Recent trends in property tax assessments, however, threaten to undermine this system. While the statewide average increases in taxation for agricultural lands was 13% from 21 to 22, some counties saw increases as high as 42%. Of the counties with the highest property tax increases, none are in fast-growing urban areas. It's impossible for property values to increase twice the state average in counties where populations are declining, if at best stable. SB 110 attempts to rectify the situation by placing governors on the rate of property tax increases. This is particularly important to our farmer members as it would insulate vital property, including barns, fencing, and other improvements from rapidly increasing tax valuations. The timing is also crucial. Our farm economy faces substantial challenges with escalating input costs, depressed commodity prices, and high interest rates, creating a financial squeeze on our farmers. According to the Census of Agriculture released earlier this month, Alabama lost about 8% of its farms, or 37,362 to put it in number. Higher production costs are a major driver of this decline. Since the last census, those costs were up almost 40%. Feed increased 57%, with fertilizer, labor, and fuel each up over 30%. Add annual property tax increases of 13 to 42% to the mix, and it's easy to see why these farms are decreasing. We believe SB 110 offers a tangible solution to alleviate some of the burdens farmers are facing to keep their operations running. In our current agricultural landscape, every dollar saved holds an immense significance, much more than it did 5 years ago. By capping property tax valuation increases, we can ensure that farmers have more stability in their financial planning and can allocate resources more effectively towards essential farm needs. This measure is a practical step towards supporting the backbone of our nation's food supply. I urge you to consider the real-world impact that this legislation would have on the farming community in particular. It's about sustainability, resilience, and ensuring that our farmers can continue to thrive for generations to come. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ryan Hollingsworth, and I think I'm going to put a time frame of 3 minutes on each person, okay? I'm sorry, Ms. Hollingsworth.
That's all right. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. In my 3 minutes, I'll stand opposed to this bill. As it's written, as I see the negative impact this bill will have on the future growth of local property taxes that support the local schools funding. The legislative fiscal note on this is $73.8 million negative impact annually. I would certainly love for the sponsor and the legislature to consider greatly increasing the cap. However, this bill, I will acknowledge, does provide some exceptions, and I thank the senator for those. I think that will help address some of our concerns. But at this point, I am most concerned about our high growth areas. We have school districts that annually we look back 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, the growth in the property tax value has exceeded 10%. It's double digit. And people are moving to those communities for a reason. They're moving there because of what the schools offer, the opportunities for the children. And they're choosing to do that. And these opportunities are funded not from the state, but they're funded with local tax revenue. One of the things when you look at how we're funded on school buildings, for example, the state provides currently in this year's budget $215 million for the entire state for school facilities. That's increased 20 million from 2020 when it was 195 million. So you look at the last 4 years, the state funding for school buildings has increased, it's only earmarked for school buildings, has increased only 2.5% per year. When we look at the construction costs for a school in the last 4 years, it's increased over 100%. So the only way we're able to do that is with local funding to meet that need, and that's what our districts are doing. So I believe the way it's written, that it would greatly negatively impact our district's ability to meet the needs of our community. And I'm sitting here, I have several superintendents that are down here today that'd love to talk with some of you, some of them are your superintendents, about what they're doing with their local revenue. Had handed to me just before I stepped up was what one superintendent was doing, and the first thing on his list is in his 5-year capital plan, we have $75 million that is being funded with local tax revenue. And there's a lot of other things that they offer. So thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Aaron Beasley, Cattlemen's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity today to speak on SB 110. My name's Aaron Beasley. I represent the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. We're an organization. We represent over 10,200 members across all 67 counties. The ACA strongly supports SB 110 as it would be beneficial for landowners and cattle producers alike. If you poll our members in the cattle business on challenges that they are facing in the industry, labor and input costs would rank amongst the top. Based on NASS data, annual farm expenditures are conservatively estimated to have increased 15 to 20% from 2021 to 2023. In the cattle business, budgeting is tough because of numerous items that you just don't have any control over. A few examples of this would be weather, cost of your feed, fuel, fertilizer, or the price per pound that you sell your animals when you take them to sale. At times, the cattle market can be as volatile as the stock market. Quite simply, cattlemen can budget for property taxes with SB 110. We have heard from members across the state that have seen outrageous hikes in ad valorem taxes over the last few years. The increase in land prices in many counties, coupled with increased appraisal values, has resulted in increases over 40%, over 15% in several rural counties. And as you heard from my friends at Alpha, it could be upwards of 40%. On our farm in Macon County, we saw an assessment that raised it to almost 10% over last year. This is an unexpected height that's difficult to budget for. Applying a cap on property taxes for Class 2 and 3 properties is a great benefit to all businesses, including those in the cattle business. We appreciate your support of SB 110. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Smith, API? No, correction, I'm sorry. Let's go to Vic Wilson. Let's go to that side. Ms. Smith, you'll be up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My daddy, if were he alive, would be upset that I'm standing up here opposed to lowering property taxes. However, that's what I'm doing. And you guys are sitting up here, and ladies and gentlemen are having to make a decision because one thing you do that helps people hurts schools. The cumulative effect from 2024 and 2023 and 2024 legislation for the fiscal year 2027, ATF would be $822 million worth of cuts. $822 million worth of cuts. I don't know where that money is going to be replaced from. It's very difficult. So I'm having to stand up here and say I'm opposed to something, not because I'm opposed to the idea in principle, but because of what it will do to the schools around our state. So I've got those figures right here if anybody would like to see those at any given time. And I really thank you for your consideration, Mr. Chairman.
Stephanie Smith, API.
Thank you for the heads up that I was on deck.
I'm Stephanie Smith. I'm the president of the Alabama Policy Institute, and I'm here today to speak to you about Senate Bill 110. As you know, what the bill does, it caps the assessment at 5% and 3% on Class 2 and Class 3 properties. Just some general knowledge, the statewide average increase over the last decade has been between 5 and 8%. So a 3% cap and a 5% cap is not arbitrary, but very reasonable. In addition, Florida, Arkansas, Georgia, South Carolina, and Texas have taken similar measures to the content of Senate Bill 110. And the reason is because legislators in those states, just as you have been getting phone calls from business owners and property owners, including people that have been struggling to stay in their homes because of the increases in property taxes over the last decade. It's not just a hyperinflation situation. The last 10 years, specifically in the state of Alabama, there have been an 11% increase in the commercial area over the past 10 years, and then a 13% increase overall in residential increases in the past decade. Some key percentages that you might want to keep in mind, especially for those of you who you represent. A lot of high growth areas are receiving humongous percentage increases, but it's really spread across the state. And so if you look at the percentage increases, for instance, Baldwin County is a 21% increase over the last decade, but Lowndes County is a 68% increase over the last decade. And on the residential side, Coleman is a 22% increase over the last decade, and Butler County is a 42% increase. So the amount of increase over the last decade has been pushed higher because of inflation, but is not solely due to inflation. Our viewpoint on it is that the best way to tax is to give people an understanding of how they will be taxed. And these surprises are very difficult for businesses, but they're also very difficult for people who are being surprised annually by their personal property tax increases. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy Craig.
Good morning. I'm Andy Craig. I'm the newly employed executive director of the Alabama Association of School Business Officials. And I'm new at this, and I'm in the interest of the 3-minute cap that's just been levied on me. I'm gonna condense. Other than point out the impact that this will have on the place that I just spent the last 2 years, this will have a tremendous negative impact on the plans moving forward. It will be a permanent impairment related to Huntsville City Schools and those school systems up there. But I'm gonna skip to a piece of it that concerns me as well. And that's I think in its implementation, this bill will be highly regressive. You know, a home in a person's life is typically the number one source of wealth building along the way. And what this bill does is essentially distributes tax relief, property tax relief to folks whose property are over that established amount. So what does that do to ones that's not? It doesn't issue any tax. So essentially it issues tax favorability to the more wealthy you are and the faster that your wealth is growing as a function of the appreciation of your home values, which we all want. In these scenarios where local school systems have voted these taxes in and provided tremendous educational service and tremendous municipal service and tremendous police services. Second point, you know, I hear these, I thought we eliminated these spikes years ago when the legislature went to an annual appraisal process as opposed to a 4-year process. I think we ought to maybe back up and fix that. I think we got to fix that. If we don't do anything else, we got to fix that. A person's property tax bill, annual property tax bill, ought to represent what the market did in that prior 365 days. And some of these percentages, I'm not advocating for those either. But if you look at the actual receipts, they don't look anything like that. Over the last few years, the property tax receipts as a whole in the state have been below modest to modest. I would characterize them at. And back to the kind of regressive nature I think the tax as it will be implemented as written, I look back and said, well, you know, if you really wanted to, if the purpose of this bill is to provide broad-based property tax relief to every citizen, not the ones that would tend to fall on the more wealthy spectrum. One simple way to do that would be to. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Talking to you more about it.
I'm invite you all. Now, we're running out of time. I'm going to invite two other people. I'm going to limit those two people to 2 minutes each, out of respect to the 3-minute cap, okay? Jeremy Walker, and after him, Tina Hammonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'll try not to belabor the other points that have made. The good news is for Alabama, we are growing. You all have heard that. We're growing in a great way, both with people moving to the state and businesses coming here. But the problem is we're competing to keep those people and attract more people coming. One of the biggest things that are coming here is for our low cost of living and economic opportunity. We've heard from a lot of great local officials, or a lot that are going to continue to reach out to you. And they have important funding needs which help attract people coming here, great schools and so forth. But this concept is not radical. We are competing against states that have already done this. And when we hear about we want to be like Florida, we want to be like Texas and attract those jobs coming to our state, those states that are growing exponentially are already doing this. And what people and businesses need are predictability and stability in kind of planning their budgets and households. In some of the high growth areas, I want to shed some light on the people that are most impacted by this are your lower income, your lower income workers, your elderly, your people on a fixed income, because their taxes are going up each year. And so they may have a mortgage payment, but the amount of taxes that they're escrowing, that's going up. Insurance costs are also going up exponentially, not just at the coast, but those are going up across the state as well. So last point I would make is there's not a dime that is being taken from local government here, not a dime. And there is a cap, and 5% is a very reasonable cap for any business to plan for that type of growth year in and year out. Thank you for consideration.
Thank you, sir. Tina Hammonds.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'm here on behalf of Dr. Eric Mackey, the State Superintendent of Education. Although this doesn't directly affect the State Department of Education's funding, we're here to speak on behalf of our schools that will be negatively affected by this. In the high growing areas, we've seen 5 to 10 and more % of growth, and that's in our attendance and in the things that we have to handle that come across our table. But we understand that budgeting requires some form of consistency year to year, and we fully understand the implications to landowners and the arguments that are made in favor. Personally, I'm from Lowndes County, so I fully understand the way that this can impact a local farmer. On that line, at the department, we strive to look toward workability and workability of a bill, especially one that is highly contested. We would like to ask you to strongly consider a 7% cap across the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for the participation. And with that, we'll end the public hearing. And I'm going to move to carry over SB 110. All in favor, say aye. Carried over. Did you want to? Certainly. Certainly. I apologize, Senator.
No, Mr. Chairman, this is your committee and your meeting, and I was a little late, but I did want to address some of these things. And you guys know me. I've been here several years. I was here in 2011 when things were really, really bad, and things have gotten a little better than they were back then. And, you know, to hear a lot of the testimony, some of it I can understand, but some of it I can't. And you guys know I'm a farmer, and I'm not the most educated person in the world. But how can an increase be a negative? I've never understood that. Now, I know I'm not from academia, I'm not from the school systems. I don't understand that, but I do understand politics, and I do understand numbers. A positive is not a negative. If we were cutting taxes, it would be one thing. We are not cutting taxes. We are capping the increases. We are trying to steady the growth because there will come another 2008, people. There will not come another downturn. And what are these systems going to do when they're drunk on all this increase and all of a sudden they're going to start slashing? They're going to be coming begging and crying and wanting to do increases across the board. So this is a good piece of legislation. It's still in the process. I appreciate the input of this, but it, you know, like I said, I could preach for a long, long time, but I know in the interest of time, my chairman is looking at me and giving me that look to cut it off. But I'd be glad to argue with anybody that's opposed to this. They're welcome to come sit down with me and we'll talk all they want to.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. I think we stand adjourned.